Yeah, you better watch this channel. You better watch all the videos. You better watch every single one right here at Good Mic Work Commentary. Do it. Do it now.
Happy Thursday afternoon. What's going on, guys? Good Mic Work back at you just 2 days after my last live stream, but I wanted to come up here and discuss a few more things because we had a pretty interesting and fun AEW Dynamite homecoming last night, and we had the unfortunate passing of Bobby Eaton, and I wanted to come up here and say a few things before the weekend because the weekend's going to be a little bit weird with my podcast schedule. So that's what we're here to do today. I know it was kind of short notice. I didn't let you guys know until this morning that I was going to do this, but I thought it would be fun to come up here and do a Dynamite review because the video schedule is going to be a little bit off balance for the rest of the summer because there's so much stuff going on with my personal life. I'm working. I'm going to Summerslam. All sorts of shit going down. So it's going to be a little bit of a staggered type of video schedule and coming up on different days here and there in order to be able to cover everything. So I kind of made up for all my lost time on Tuesday, kind of giving a general review of the week's results in wrestling, Raw, NXT, SmackDown, Dynamite, that sort of thing, and talked about all of the big releases with the Bray Wyatt, Ric Flair, still more rumors on the CM Punk and Daniel Bryan debut, Adam Cole, all that stuff, the big whirlwind shitstorm of news that I missed while I was gone, I covered on Tuesday. So if you didn't get a chance to see that episode, it's up on my channel right now. It was a fun night. We had a great audience in there for that, and we covered a lot of ground, but we had a pretty decent and interesting, although not all good, AEW Dynamite homecoming last night with a really interesting main event and lots of speculation for All Out. So I thought it would be fun to come up here today and just chat for a little bit. I would say an hour and a half is all you're going to have me for because then I got to head off to work, and we'll regroup again and be back here on Sunday. But I wanted to, I thought it was fitting to come up here and talk about a few things, especially since we experienced a very sad wrestling death today, or actually early this morning when this news was reported. So that's kind of what we're here to do today, hang out and talk to you guys. I have made the chat subscribers only since our little bot issue from the other day, but I want to say hi to Big J, Gilbert, Ben, Jay Hunt Jones, Michael. I am not expecting a huge audience in here today for this because it's Thursday, it's random, it's weird, but it was really my only chance to get up here because I got a busy day tomorrow and Saturday. There will be no podcast on Saturday because I am needed at my other job all day long. But we are off on Sunday, or I am available on Sunday. So what we've been doing recently in recent weeks has been doing watch-alongs on Sundays. So we're going to stick with that for this week. And as we get near the end of the episode here and more people gather in the chat, I'm going to try to get you guys to help me decide which SummerSlam show we're going to watch on Sunday because I haven't decided yet. So I figured I might as well get the input of my listeners and we'll throw out some ideas, and the one that sticks with me the most is probably the one we're going to do on Sunday. So keep a lookout for that. This will be the last stream until then. No stream tomorrow and no podcast on Saturday, which is why you're seeing my bald face right now. Again, it's just going to be kind of a short one here. We're going to discuss some wrestling news first. I want to open up with a nice little tribute to Bobby Eaton, and then we're going to move on to some wrestling news, including another big NXT contract reportedly coming up. AEW has signed yet another free agent, according to the reports. Some of that fallout from the Max Caster rap that I didn't discuss on Tuesday because I think that news was happening as I was doing the podcast, so I wasn't even aware of it till after the fact. We'll talk a little bit about that, and we will get into the results of last night's AEW homecoming back at Daly's Place. They will not be back at Daly's Place, COVID, permitting, of course, until December. So this was their last show there in quite a while, unless this Delta wipes everybody out and we've got to go back to lockdown and Thunderdomes and empty arenas again. Hopefully that will not happen, but provided everything stays legit, they're not going to be back there for a few months. So they put on an interesting show last night, especially with the Jericho and Hoovy stuff, and the big main event, Aleister Black just completely eviscerating Cody Rhodes, which I loved every fucking waking second of, and thought it was a great main event and a statement win for him. And, of course, we will talk about Cody, Mr. Overdramatic Pants, turning everything into just nonsense. He's so fucking dramatic and self-absorbed. It's so crazy. But he's going to take his boots off and he's going to retire. And oh my God, luckily Black came back, whacked him with the crutch, and we didn't have to sit through too much of that. So we'll discuss everything in terms of Dynamite last night. Great rating they pulled in again, staying over 1 million. A little bit, tiny bit down, I think, from the week before, but the number's still very promising. If they're doing over 1 million now, what's going to happen when Bryan and Punk show up on the scene, which for the most part we can all but confirm is the real deal. It is happening. They are coming in. I don't think AEW would be teasing the things that they are teasing if these guys, especially specifically Punk, wasn't coming in. They would look like huge assholes if they did that, and I have a feeling that that's not what they're doing. So it's an exciting time to be a wrestling fan, so we're just going to kind of shoot the shit. Very casual podcast. Luckily today, unlike Tuesday, I don't have 6 pages of notes of shit to catch up on. Very light notes, wrestling results, a couple of tidbits of news, and just a basic hangout. So hope you guys are having a great Thursday afternoon and a great week so far. Good to see a Sunny Man and Deshaun Robinson's in the house. How Wheezy got a couple of monkey wrenches in here. That's all I ask for. And K-Dog's Kennel's here. What's up, man? Good to see you. I want to say hi to J2. You said greetings from England. That visual of Camille and Layla Hirsch is hella scary. Always been surprised none of the bigger companies hasn't tried to snap her up yet on appearance alone. I thought so too. I did not see Camille until NWA came around. Prior to the pandemic, when they started airing on YouTube, I'm like, who is she? She is spectacular, at least from a visual perspective. It's exactly the type of frame that WWE would want. I don't know. I think she has maybe passed through the Performance Center, or at least has had conversations with WWE, I think, to the best of my knowledge. But why she wasn't somebody that stuck around, how she slipped through their fingers, how Jade Cargill slipped through their fingers, I will never know. But what's interesting about that is when Jade Cargill appeared on AEW randomly, unannounced. Nobody even knew who she was. All we knew is she looked like $1 million. Camille was the first person that came to my mind because I'm like, man, what if those two wind up having a clash? Because Camille's big and strong and built. Maybe not quite as well as Jade, but damn close. You know, that's a hoss fight right there for women. And that could be interesting. So now that she's kind of got a little bit of a working deal with AEW, she's going to be defending the NWA Women's title against a contracted AEW talent, I believe at Empower or whatever the NWA show is coming up down the road. And whenever her contract or existing contract with NWA expires, you can bet Camille is going to be all elite because she is something else. And yes, that visual of the two of them, it was the craziest thing. I had to throw it in the thumbnail because it was so awesome. So a lot on the show that I liked last night. It wasn't all great though. I mean, it was more of I think I liked the previous week's show a little bit better. And last night wasn't all good. There was a couple of things I didn't care for, and I thought there was a couple of kind of slower moving matches here or there. But overall, still lots of stuff went down and lots of build and lots of table setting for All Out. And we still really don't know what our main event for that is going to be. Apparently, Christian is the new number 1 contender. Seems like they're moving. As of last week, the reports came out. Meltzer said this, and even when Omega had pinned Hangman, that match was off for All Out. But considering the Hangman, as we saw last night, Hangman and Omega and all that stuff is not nearly done. It's not like they're dropping the angle. It feels like they're actually postponing it because All Out might be a bigger deal. And if CM Punk is going to get back in the ring and have his first match at All Out, because we think he's going to debut in the United Center on the 20th of SummerSlam weekend, Friday night, he'll have his first match at All Out, and AEW might be building that as the main event. So you got to think if you're going to have Omega and Hangman for the title, that needs to be the focal point. That needs to be the main event. And as I mentioned on Tuesday, it's not like these things can't still happen and coexist together. Back at WrestleMania 12, the Ultimate Warrior came back after a long layoff on the same night that Shawn was anointed the guy. But Punk coming back is such a monumental deal that they might want to have Omega take on just a challenger that you know he's going to beat and put that title match on the undercard, giving the main event to CM Punk and Darby Allin. Wouldn't exactly hate that. It would spread some shit out, and you could postpone and continue the story of Adam Page and Omega until you get to Arthur Ashe, or you get to Full Gear, or you get to some big-ass Dynamite or Rampage show, and you do the title switch there, giving them their own main event stage and make them the centerpiece of the entire show. That's what it feels like they're doing to me. I don't know at this point. I can't envision any scenario where Adam Page does not beat Kenny Omega for the title. So I just think this whole thing is kind of being postponed or moved to another venue, location, date, whatever. That's my take on it. We'll discuss more as we go through what you guys might think is going on there, but it looks like All Out is pretty fucking stacked. I mean, there's been rumors of Moxley and Tanahashi. Moxley and Tanahashi at All Out. How fucking amazing would that be? On the same card with CM Punk and Darby Allin, on the same card potentially as Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker too. Follow up from their brutal bloodbath they had on Dynamite a few months back. Britt's the champ now. She lost that match. Time to get that win back. And God knows what else they can put on that show. We know we'll have a title match. We know we'll have a tag title match. We know Miro will defend the title. All Out's looking good, regardless of what the main event is and regardless of what they do with Hangman and Kenny going forward. I'm ready for September 5th. That is for sure. I'm ready for that show to get here. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we will discuss all of that as we go through the Dynamite results here in just a minute. I have not watched NWA in a long time, Deshaun, so I am not sure if Camille is still with Nick Aldis or not. I don't know. That was the last time I saw her, as she was with him. And I think at the time, too, wasn't he doing something like where he wouldn't let her speak or whatever it was? And, you know, I almost think they were trying to almost get sympathy for her. I don't know where that went and how that was paid off, if it was at all. But it felt like the little bit of I watched of NWA back when it first kicked off, prior to the pandemic fucking everything to hell, I kind of remember her being a little bit mistreated by him. So I'm really not sure. But, man, that visual of Camille and Layla Hirsch, who I just love, by the way, as soon as she kind of burst onto the scene, too. I mean, she's 3.5 feet tall, but she knows what she's doing. She's a good wrestler, and I think she can be groomed into a damn fine worker regardless of her size. Because she's interesting and she's different. And, you know, you need that a lot in the women's division, you know, in any women's division anywhere in wrestling. You need some diversity and some different shapes and sizes. And AEW, for the most part, has that in their division right now. And WWE does to a degree as well. So, yeah, we'll be talking about a lot as we go through here, and just a casual Thursday hangout. And as we get later on here, start thinking about it. We'll do this at the end of the show. I need to figure out a Summerslam to watch with all of you guys on Sunday. We're going to do a watch-along, classic Summerslam. Throw me out some ideas later on. If one of them sticks out, we'll do it. I'd rather it be a show that we know a lot of people are going to be interested in. As much as I would love to watch SummerSlam 1989, I know my audience isn't in their 40s like me. So, you know, we might have to pick something that's, you know, a little bit more recent, but not too recent to where I'm not interested in doing it at all. So it's got to be in that sweet spot, you know, of like mid to late 90s to 2006, somewhere in there. Anything beyond 2006, honestly, I don't give a shit. So I'd probably rather watch something, you know, more classic, more retro, that sort of thing. So we'll be doing that on Sunday. We just have to decide what that's going to be. Anyway, yeah, Ratnick Pete Dunne is on my list of wrestling news. We're going to talk about the Pete Dunne stuff in a minute and Ruby Soho. But first, we have some sad news to report. Beautiful Bobby Eaton has passed away at the age of 62. His sister Deborah posted the heartfelt, painful message on Facebook, and I quote, "I never wanted to have to post this, but my little brother, beautiful Bobby Eaton, passed away last night. When I find out all of the details, I will post them. Bobby was the kindest, most loving person you would ever meet. I loved him so much and going to miss him. Please say a prayer for my niece Taryn. She found him." And she just lost her mom a little over a month ago. So yes, I guess he was found by his daughter, and his wife had just recently passed away as well. And Bobby had been in bad health for quite some time. I remember like 15 years ago or something, he suffered a heart attack. And even recently, I can't remember when this was, but I swear it was within the last 2 years that he even went missing for a couple of days, and he was found safe and sound, located, that sort of thing. And so he gave us a little bit of a scare there, and we knew that he wasn't in good health at all, which is sad because 62 is relatively young. But Bobby Eaton, the cool thing about him, what makes him so different, and a lot of you fans, he's probably way before a lot of your times. He's not before mine. I saw a large part of his career. He began wrestling the year I was born, I believe. And I saw a lot of his like classic shit, the Midnight years and, the WCW years and stuff. But he's got one of the more fascinating careers in all of wrestling, a true journeyman. And when it comes to, we say this a lot about wrestlers when they pass away and we reflect back on their legacy or their career or whatever it is. We always speak very highly of them. We always talk as fondly about them as possible. But I honestly believe, and I'm not just saying this because he is dead, I honestly believe that he had to be, without a shadow of a doubt, had to have the best all-around reputation in the history of wrestling. The only guy that I can really think of that would be maybe on the spectrum with him would be somebody like Mick Foley in terms of personality. Beloved by everyone. There's not a soul that would say a bad thing about him. Now, Foley had that different side of his career, that hardcore, deathmatch, violent, put your body through all sorts of pain and agony type of style that had its critics, like Ric Flair, like some fans, and others. So maybe even you can't even consider Foley on the same level as Eaton, because Eaton was a very respected hand in the ring and a beloved human being out of it. I challenge you to find one negative story about Bobby Eaton anywhere. You can dig for years and you're not going to find it. He was absolutely beloved, worked with everybody. The outpouring of love and support he got on social media after the announcement of his death was pretty incredible because, this is a guy that I watched, even though I was primarily a WWE guy. I was in front of the TV at 6:05 most Saturday nights, especially in the summer. It seems like I was as a kid, just watching the Midnight and watching Bobby Eaton as a single star. He was born and raised, I believe, in Alabama. From there, country as hell, but and became he was a lifelong fan, and got into wrestling and has a really interesting and fascinating early history, prior to him being paired with Dennis Condrey and Jim Cornette, and then his career just taking off. When he was coming up, he was main eventing matches first couple of years within his career, on the regional level. He's got matches under his belt with Randy Savage before Randy Savage even became anything, even before Randy Savage was in Memphis or ICW. He's worked with him. History with Coco Beware, history with Lawler, history with a lot of guys. And, he really, when it came just to being in the ring, everybody uses that term, he's a night off. He really was. He was so safe. And he would always protect you, and he would always ensure that you were going to have a good match. He didn't have the greatest look. He didn't have the greatest body. To the best of my knowledge, he never once even passed through the doors of WWE. I don't even think he's been backstage at a show ever. I don't think there's ever even any talk of ever bringing him in. He was primarily a Southern wrestler, but he created one hell of a career, and he has just as good of a reputation as anybody that made it into the WWE Hall of Fame. I believe he's in the NWA Hall of Fame, I think. I remember seeing his speech for that a few years back. But when it comes to his career and his history, it's a fascinating one, and it spanned a lot of different generations and a lot of different years and time periods in wrestling, and he was incredibly versatile despite the limitations in his look and size and everything like that. He was just a really, really good worker. He had that Alabama Jam, top rope leg drop, which he could hit flawlessly. I remember as a kid just watching him come off there, and I don't know how, he just always hit it perfectly, always protected everybody, and made it look good. It's easy to protect somebody if it looks like shit, but he made it look good. And he was, just kind of a unique performer in that he always had a reputation of a top guy, but was never a top guy, a top guy anyway, aside from his tag team run and stuff like that. But like I said, he was probably most famous for being one half of one of the best American tag teams in history, the Midnight Express. Now, the Midnights was a group, down, I think, in Alabama. And then, they brought that to Jim Crockett Promotions and paired him with Dennis Condrey, and they made Jim Cornette as their manager, and they kind of worked as a duo there with Cornette as the mouthpiece. And those years, I would say it would probably be 85 to 89 or 85 to 90, something like that. That was the hottest for them. Then it was him and Dennis, and then it was him and Stan Lane. But regardless of who Eaton had as his partner, the Midnight Express were probably more over with Dennis Condrey, but not by much. Even when Stan Lane came in and filled that void, it was still a super over tag team, and they were fucking great heels, and they had some of the best NWA tag team matches that you will ever see. And it was exciting, and he was so good in that role, and it was such a perfect pairing, with Cornette as their manager as well, and their feud with the Rock and Roll Express. They had great matches with Flair and Arn, and lots of different teams, the Road Warriors, and everybody, you name it, he worked with them all. Classic matches, pay-per-views, and Clash of Champions, and shit like that. It was a great time, and that 5-year span there, they should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I know they put the Rock and Roll Express in, but I don't think, unless I missed some year or whatever, I don't believe the Midnight Express have gone in, because I know Cornette would have been a part of that, and I think Cornette inducted the Rock and Roll. But they absolutely deserve to be in the Hall of Fame as a tag team, because they were just as good as any team in the WWE. Cornette has told stories that they actually did go to WWE to talk about coming in, and Cornette says how Vince was going on and on about how you're going to have dolls and shit, but because they weren't being given any creative plans beyond that, just saying, oh, you're going to have dolls, and you're going to have an opportunity, and you're going to get paid this, and your downside, and then we'll go from there. And they're like, we're selling out arenas down south. We know we're going to be in the title hunt and be champions down there, making tons of money. You got to promise us a run with the titles. You got to promise us something. And Vince, of course, that's just not the way he operated, or the WWE back then, and they opted to stay. But if they would have gone to WWE around that time, they would have came in during the era of the Hearts and Bulldogs and Bees and Can-Ams. Fuck. That would have been incredible. But they did the right thing by staying where they were, because they were hot. They were they had so much heat as heels, and the crowds were always just rabid and crazy, and you didn't have that atmosphere at that time in the WWE. And I think they really made the right call to stay in there, because their NWA legacy and history was incredible. I know it was a Halloween Havoc. I just don't remember the year. I want to say it was like 89 or 90. That was kind of the end of the Midnight Express. And then Bobby would kind of have a run as a singles. Now, Jim Cornette left the territory. I think Condrey did too. Bobby Eaton stayed loyal. He stayed in WCW near the end. I think even in 98, he was still under contract to them. So his singles run was something that I also remember a lot, because he was a big part of the television championship, and he was TV champion. I remember a great match he had with Flair at the Clash of Champions. I think it was in 91, like a 2 out of 3 falls match, something like that. Probably his highest profile singles match of his career. Lost the title to Steve Austin. Worked with all of the greats, had a great program with Arn Anderson. He worked with Dustin Rhodes, Mark Mero, Tom Zink, everybody that was around WCW around that time. He was in there mixing it up with them, including Ric Flair and others. He joined the Dangerous Alliance after that a couple of years later, and joined up with 2 of his TV title rivals, Stone Cold Steve Austin, or Stunning Steve Austin at the time, and Arn Anderson, and joining up with Rick Rude and Paul Heyman. Medusa was a part of that. They did that great War Games match, I think in 92, which was fantastic. And Bobby Eaton was extremely... like I said, he was extremely versatile, because he was great in a tag team. He was great in singles. He was great in a faction. I think the dude could have been a manager. Surprised he never was, aside from maybe a stint or two, or an appearance or two. Later in WCW, I guess it would have been probably around the time Hogan came in. That was when they teamed him up with Steven Regal, and they were the Blue Bloods, and they were they were almost like a Triple H type of character, actually, and they were snotty, and he kind of adopted Steven Regal's persona, just the nose up and the hand behind the back, and you dance around prissily and everything. And that was where he kind of showed he had a little bit of a funny side to him as well. Bobby Eaton was just a really, really well-loved, well-respected person. And my friend Daniel has refereed some matches, and he's substantiated some claims that I've heard several times in shoot interviews about Bobby Eaton not only being one of the most well-liked guys, but he had this Swiss Army knife utility bag type of duffel bag that he would carry with him that would literally have anything in the world that you needed in it. You need a pair of scissors, you need some wrist tape, you need a stapler, you need pliers, you need mustard. Chances are Bobby Eaton has got that in his bag. Many people have told that story. It's hilarious. He was always prepared, always a nice guy, always willing to help you, give you anything, advice. Like I said, the outpouring of support today, one tweet in particular that I saw from Dustin Rhodes, really, made me sad because Dustin was such a child back then, when he was working with Bobby Eaton and stuff. And the shit that he probably taught Dustin is part of the reason why Dustin has still got his ass in the ring to this day. So his reach extends far. He's touched virtually everybody in the business, even though he never really worked in WWE. Lots of people there, plenty of people in WWE have had interactions, matches, conversations, experiences with Bobby Eaton, and you'll never hear a negative word. I remember years ago, there was a story floating around that back in the day, Bill Goldberg pitched Bobby Eaton, beautiful Bobby, as the one to beat the streak. I always found that fantastic. I think that would have been silly as much as I love Bobby Eaton. Let's not be stupid here. But I think Goldberg was just dealing with the politics and the BS, and he didn't want to drop it to a lot of guys because Bill had an ego, and, Bobby Eaton might have even had a hand in training him. Bobby Eaton, I think, actually was trained by Tojo Yamamoto, and he had a lot of, he was a mentor to a lot of guys. And if he was one of the people that was there to help kind of get Bill a little bit straight or teach him, because I'd rather have Bobby Eaton as my teacher than fucking Kevin Nash or Hulk Hogan, I'll tell you that. So Goldberg, I think, actually pitched him to actually beat the streak. Now, luckily, sanity reared its head and did not allow that to happen. I don't think that would have been a good thing to do, but it would have been interesting, and it would have put Bobby's name in the record books as the guy that beat that streak, which would have been pretty fucking incredible. But like I said, he remained there in and out. He would work Nitro matches during the NWO era, I remember, before leaving there. He had a stint in Smoky Mountain. He had a stint in Japan. I think he wrestled a match or two in TNA. So you talk about somebody who's been everywhere. He's been everywhere. Whether you're an ECW hardcore wrestler like Tommy Dreamer, or if you're an old NWA mainstay like Arn or Tully, or if you're somebody who's in WWE now that used to work with him, like a William Regal or a Steve Austin or somebody like that. They're all going to have pretty incredible things to say about the dude. And he was just a class act. And I remember, that's the thing, like that gives me such a warm place in my heart. I've seen so many Bobby Eaton matches on TV, when I would watch WCW or I would watch NWA, and to see him in there wrestling, doing the top rope leg drop, the TV title, the tags, all that stuff that he did, it occupies a pretty damn significant portion of my wrestling memory. So it's a sad loss. It's a sad loss for sure, especially with someone like him who's so beloved. It would have been nice if we could have gotten 20 more years out of him. He was only 62, but he never had any really bad demons. Don't recall him having too many drug problems or drinking problems or anything like that, but he was in poor health and, succumbed to whatever it was. Don't know what it was that did him in, but if he was found, that means he probably died at home. And, luckily heart attack or stroke or likely a heart attack or stroke or something like that. But I suppose his sister will clue us in when they know more on what the exact cause of death was here. But our thoughts and prayers and condolences and vibes go out to his friends, go out to his family. You can go and on any wrestling website right now, I'm sure. I know I saw it over on Fightful. You can probably find it anywhere else. There is a GoFundMe set up for him and his family. If you'd like to go donate to that, please do. You can find it rather easily. I forgot to put a link in the description, otherwise I would have. But sad day, and we've lost a legend, an absolute legend. And, even though he was never in WWE, there's a lot of people in the WWE Hall of Fame that were never there. I think with beautiful Bobby, at least getting one of those legacy inductions is something that he's absolutely worthy of. And if nothing else, going in the Hall of Fame as part of the Midnight Express. So I think he deserves that, and maybe there should be conversations about that actually happening, because he had a large influence on a lot of guys and taught a lot of guys a lot of stuff. Just a great guy. Great, wonderful, wonderful man. Passed away at the age of 62. Rest in peace, beautiful Bobby. I want to get into some wrestling news here as well, but let me just cruise over here to the chat. Got a couple super chats in here I want to knock out, and then we're going to talk about one AEW signing and another potential one with another big NXT contract apparently has expired. We'll talk about that in just a second, so stay tuned. Let me say hello to the new one. Thank you very much for $9.99. Oh, Vontae, what's up, man? It's you. How you doing? What's up, Greg and family? Been a minute. A brother been busy. I hear you. Me too. Haven't been able to watch Raw and discuss it with y'all. I'm excited for Punk to return to wrestling finally. We are too. That's just going to be, if anything else, interesting. I'm just really ready to see the crowd reaction, hear the promo, see the Darby match. I said on Tuesday that is an absolute perfect first opponent for him. Will do nothing to harm Darby whatsoever to take a loss to CM Punk. And if Punk is going to come back to the ring, you don't want him to come out there and have a match that's just okay. You want him to have a barn burner. And what better guy to do that than Darby Allin, who's a proven draw. You know, his matches always did great in the the quarter-hour breakdowns and the ratings and stuff when he was TNT champion. He's super over by pretty much the majority of the audience, and I think he can bump around and give CM Punk one hell of a match. That's going to be fun. In terms of Raw, you ain't missed much, man. Hadn't missed much, to be honest with you. Even after the fans come back, it still sucks. I got to be at that show in 2.5 weeks. I'm going to be at the Raw here in San Diego after SummerSlam. A lot of people are pinpointing that show is when Becky returns, but still, even if she does, the rest of the show is going to be pretty much shit. So I'm kind of regretting buying that ticket, but I will be there, and hopefully things will just get better. You know what I mean? Charlie, SummerSlam 92. I like it. That's a good option. Michael Kumo, thanks for the $1.99. So Bobby would beat Goldberg for the WCW title. I don't think that was a realistic thing of actually happening. I think it was just Goldberg pitching it at the time. I can't see Bischoff going for that. But, for a fan like me, I would have loved it. I would have laughed my ass off if Bobby Eaton won the WCW title. Chris Ludecki, appreciate the $5 from you. Bobby Eaton's time as Earl of Eaton. That was the best when they were in the Blue Bloods. It was underrated in WCW because of their awesome theme music. They did have good theme music. They never won the belts. They never won the titles. Who did they feud with? Maybe Steiners, or maybe not Steiners. Fuck, I forgot now. But they are Harlem Heat. I know they had some matches with Harlem Heat as well, but they never did win the tag team titles. But it was kind of funny, and I can't remember the order of this. David Taylor got involved in that too at some point. He kind of had the same type of gimmick. Maybe he replaced Bobby, or maybe he replaced Regal. I don't remember. But that was an interesting tag team back in the day. All right, that catches up the supers. All right, so we're good there. Barry wants SummerSlam 2006. William Cullen is suggesting 90, 91, or 92. You know what? I mean, I didn't want to do one too old, but I like all of those. 90, 91, or 92 would actually be pretty fun. I might do one of those. 2006, Barry, I just did the review of 2005 with Hogan and Shawn. I don't want to see Hogan win again when he's 2,000 years old. But 90, 91, or 92, William, you might be onto something there. You might be onto something. 2004 or 2000. Christian, I did a review of 2000 last year. I was there at that show, so I probably won't do a watch-along of that. But 04, possibly, because of the Benoit stuff. So I'll give it some thought. These are all great suggestions. Great suggestions. For the love of God, please get the CM Punk debut over with before things get shut down. The debut must be in front of a sold-out arena. No shit. Well, I think it's Rampage. So as long as we can make it until the 20th, which is 15 more days from now, 2 weeks in a day, 2 weeks from tomorrow, then we should be good. But yeah, I'm a little bit worried now as well. And, that COVID and the Delta shit is all in the back of my mind because I'm supposed to go to SummerSlam. I'm supposed to go in an arena filled with like 60,000 people. Luckily, we're outside, I think, but still, that's a little bit freaky. I just went on vacation, packed airplanes full of people and everything. So it just sucks that we can't get half the people in this idiotic country to get vaccinated. And because of that, we're going to take some steps backwards, and it's going to be all their fault. And it's going to suck for us for wrestling because wrestling, especially in AEW, was really getting good with the all the new acquisitions of AEW and with the crowds being back. And I think SummerSlam, despite all WWE's problems, SummerSlam's going to be a great show. I have no doubt that it will be. It'll be kick-ass. I think TakeOver will be good too. But man, I really want things to not get worse in terms of the pandemic. SummerSlam 97, maybe. I have fond memories of that because it's Bret Hart's title win and stuff, but the card wasn't that great, and it was tough to watch because Austin got dropped on his head and, that sort of thing. So maybe not, but I'm liking 92. I'm liking 90, 91, and 92. Those are all really good suggestions. I might go with one of those. My favorite finisher, sharpshooter. Anyway, there is a potential new AEW signee coming in, according to Fightful Select. Ruby Soho, formerly Ruby Riott, apparently has signed or is about to sign with AEW, which is a good pickup for them. She makes a lot of sense. She's another one that really just does not fit into that, it's just WWE cast-offs lame-ass argument, because she is actually somebody who can contribute. She's actually somebody who's decent. She's actually someone who's different and can offer a lot to the women's division, and she's perfect for them. Now, she's using the name Ruby Soho, which I think was offered to her or allowed for her to use by the punk rock group Rancid. They have a song called Ruby Soho. And I think that Tony Khan should pay for that song. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember how it goes. Ruby, 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 so something like that. I think that would fit her. I'm trying to think like how it would sound in a wrestling entrance, capacity, but that would be awesome. And the lead singer, Lars something, he's like best friends with CM Punk. He was all over that CM Punk documentary DVD that WWE did years ago. And Ruby Riott, Ruby Soho, she fits that, she's that punk rocker and all that. It would be the perfect combination there. And I think the name works for her. When you leave WWE and you lose your name or your gimmick or whatever, sometimes it's hard to, find something that's similar or you can keep, and it's a kind of an easier, more seamless transition. I think Malakai Black did that, and I think Ruby Soho has got a chance to do that as well. And I actually kind of like the name Ruby Soho better than Ruby Riott. So we'll see when she turns up. She will be a big addition and a big improvement to that roster that's literally been getting better by the day ever since AEW first started. I think most fans, even the most hardcore AEW supporters, would have to admit that women's division was extremely weak. But you're a brand new company. What do you expect? You can only sign the people that are available, so you have to slowly grow that. They've done that now. And a lot of the working relationships they've had with NWA Power has helped that. Serena Deeb, Thunder Rosa, women like that. And you combine that with some new signees, you are developing yourselves a not too bad looking women's division. And I think it's only going to grow and get better from here. So she's a big acquisition there. Can't wait to see her turn up whenever that may be. And welcome to All Elite Wrestling, Ruby Soho. Speaking of people coming in, Fightful Select had an interesting report today about Pete Dunne. Apparently, he's in a similar boat with Adam Cole. Now, the report reads, I quote, Adam Cole isn't the only person with their NXT deal coming up soon. Fightful Select has learned that Pete Dunne's NXT contract is also up soon, with one source pointing to after SummerSlam weekend, though we haven't confirmed that date with Dunne or WWE as of yet. Fightful has heard that the situation was similar to that of Adam Cole's, but haven't been given any additional details besides that his contract is in fact coming up soon. We haven't been told if Dunne's contract actually expired as Cole's did, leading to a short-term extension. We'll work to gain more details. We've reached out to Dunne and WWE for comment. So apparently Dunne has got maybe a similar situation with Adam Cole. Now, this wasn't confirmed, but if he was another contract that was overlooked or somehow was allowed to expire or lapse, we talked about Canyon Ceman's release, kind of matching up timeline-wise with Cole. If there was two of them here, could you imagine that? This is even worse. You let two huge NXT talents contracts come up without noticing. I'd fire your ass too. So I don't know if that's the case or not, but Pete Dunne is another guy, much like Adam Cole, who I think is great and just phenomenal and fucking badass, but he is a guy who is going to see issues on a main roster. Oh no, I've made it this far. You probably can't even hear it, but my neighbors have hired some landscapers to prune all their trees, and now they're wood chipping all the tree branches and shit. Not even 50 yards from where I'm sitting right now, but hopefully the mic will not pick up too much of that and annoy the hell out of you guys. But Pete Dunne is another guy that I feel like will always be treated well in NXT or NXT UK. He had a long run with the NXT UK title, went on a winning streak, always been presented as a badass, always works great matches, and is an excellent piece of talent. However, that doesn't mean jack shit when you get up to the main roster. So much like Adam Cole, who watches everybody around him in NXT who isn't limited by their size like he is or like Pete Dunne is, if people like Keith Lee, somebody who's 400 fucking pounds and a good worker, can't get treated like he's worth anything on the main roster, what makes him think he's going to be? So as we talked about on Tuesday with Adam Cole, not to tell him what he should do, I hate it when fans insist that they know what's best for somebody. All the people that freaked out on Zelina Vega for making a personal choice. The same people who probably won't get vaccinated and say, wearing a mask is my choice. They're probably shitting on her for making a personal decision that she had every right to make. And so I don't want to be the person that's going to insist that Dunne should do this. And if he doesn't do this, he's a fucking moron. That's ignorant to say that. Just like it's ignorant to say that about Adam Cole. So I want to be careful how I word this. But if I'm Adam Cole, if I got long hair and I'm doing the baby thing and Britt Baker's my girlfriend, then I'm jumping ship. I'm getting the fuck out of there because I'm looking around and say, okay, Shawn and Triple H love me. The NXT has been my family. I've had a great run here. Everything I've done has run its course. The Undisputed Era, my time as NXT champion, were all great, and they all ran their course fully. Only one little piece of business left to do. Wrap up his feud with Kyle O'Reilly, which at this point should just be booked into a Loser Leaves Town match at TakeOver. And that's it. Put your friend over. Let him carry the baton, or that you had anyway. Maybe not the baton of all of NXT, but at least fill the void that you're going to leave behind by putting him over. It all fits, and you get to jump over to AEW where you're going to be treated well, where you're not going to be shit on or, treated like Karrion Kross or Keith Lee or Shinsuke Nakamura or anybody else who's jumped over there and made to look like a pile of shit within a matter of weeks. You're going to be respected there. And you've got a ton of history. You have unlimited history in AEW. You ain't got none on the main roster at all. Who's Adam Cole going to come to SmackDown or Raw and you're going to say, oh my God, he's got a feud with him immediately? He's got no real history with anybody there. And if he does, it ain't history that WWE is going to acknowledge because they don't do that. Where in AEW, everything, all the stars are aligned perfectly for him. He can not only leave WWE and NXT, he can leave on his own terms and he can leave in a professional way. Because one thing you cannot say about Adam Cole is that he was mistreated. At least not in NXT. Put him on Raw or SmackDown, whole different story. But at least in NXT, he has not been mistreated at all. So it would make sense for him to go. Pete Dunne has got to be, I would think, have the same line of thinking. Okay, what have I done here? I've had a great run as NXT champion. Yeah, I fell short of the NXT title, but that might not even really be in the cards for me at this point anyway. So if I resign, I'm going to be doing largely what I'm doing now. And if they move me to the main roster, I'm chasing around that green clock belt that Reginald's got. So see ya. I'm going to go over here because there ain't no Vince over here with these guys, and maybe they'll actually give a shit. So Pete Dunne and Adam Cole potentially both ending their deals with WWE and making the jump to AEW, I think makes sense for both of them, and I hope they both do it. Now, if they don't, at this point, I'd be extremely shocked if Adam Cole stays. But if he does, I will support that decision. It's his decision. It's what he wants to do. We don't know what's going on back there. We don't know what other circumstances are at play, but you would have to think to have a creatively satisfying career, I don't know how you select Raw or SmackDown over AEW at this point. If you're somebody like Adam Cole, you're John Cena, it's a different story. But if you're Adam Cole, the writing is on the wall. The evidence is there. The numbers don't lie. All you got to do is open up your goddamn eyes and see what they do with NXT talent. And this is something that I'm surprised WWE has never had a little bit of thought about when they get to the main roster and they don't give two shits. It's like I said, it's like there's this weird internal power struggle between Vince and Triple H. Like Vince is purposely trying to fuck with him or something. And they're not thinking about their future. And they should be saying to themselves, look, when somebody comes up with from NXT, we better treat them halfway decent. Otherwise, these guys are going to bounce the minute their contract's up because they're seeing what happens to everybody else. So if I have Adam Cole or Pete Dunne or both, I'm saying goodbye to WWE and I'm going to AEW. That's what I'm doing. So we will see if that turns out to be the case. Pete Dunne, I'm a little bit less, I have a little bit less investment in. He's, as much as I love Pete Dunne, I kind of like Adam Cole a little bit better, and he's somebody that I would just love to see in AEW. Pete Dunne, not quite as much, but still would be pretty badass if he turns up there too. beefing up that TNT title division or another great opponent for Darby Allin or whatever they could do with him. He's got options there. He's got lots of options there, where it just ain't the case. I mean, look at the way Raw and SmackDown is. It's just nonsense. With AEW, they got a new show starting up too, Rampage. So now they got another 2-hour show or whatever it is. So 1 hour or 2 hours on Fridays. So they have to, expand their roster a little bit as well. Some big talent coming in, man. Cole, Bryan, Punk, Dunne. Holy shit. Possibly Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? It's crazy out there, man. So anyway, Pete Dunne may be heading over to All Elite. Speaking of our friends over there, Tony Khan and company, that Max Caster rap from, I guess it was it Elevation or was it Dark? It aired there. This was a match and a segment that was taped a week ago, 6 days ago. Somehow managed to get through all of the processes of editing. Somehow managed to go unnoticed, or whoever is in charge of that, when they saw it, it didn't cross anybody's mind, like, we might want to run this by Tony before, number one, Max should have said that before I say it, or maybe run it by him before we put this on air, and it did. And during his rap, I think they were wrestling the Varsity Blondes. He comes out to the ring and he makes a joke about Simone Biles and also about treating little Julie Hart, who I believe is 19 or 20 years old, like the Duke lacrosse team. Big story that came out years ago that turned out to be untrue. Duke lacrosse was found totally innocent of those rape allegations. But when you're joking about mental health and rape all in one line of your rap, that's pretty fucked up. Now, it is what it is. How many times have WWE done something they're like, God damn, that was in such bad taste? So of course, when something like this happens, like I'm looking at this, I'm like, ugh, that was bad. I can't believe that made air. What the fuck are you guys doing over there? And Tony Khan tried to do a little bit of damage control, said that from now on he's going to be overseeing the editing and things like that to make sure these things don't fall through the cracks. He wasn't there. He wasn't aware that it happened. He was outside. He was having a Big Mac. I don't know what he said. Basically, he was just saying, hey, we're going to keep a better eye on this. It's our bad. We'll fix it. We'll be better. And that's really all you can say. So now you have the fans, they're so confused. They don't know what to be mad about. On one hand, and now they're like, oh, Tony Khan's a snowflake. But on the other hand, they're like, oh, you guys are assholes. And you blacklist Hulk Hogan and try to be woke and all this shit. But then you let something like this air. To me, it was just a simple mistake, something that shouldn't have happened. Maybe it can be chalked up to AEW's inexperience as a less than 2-year-old company. Maybe there's not a lot of infrastructure yet there in place for people that are in charge of certain situations, because Tony Khan is kind of the front man of the whole thing. I don't think Tony Khan should have to worry himself with the editing of AEW Dark. He should have people in place to do that will filter these type of things out when necessary. It shouldn't all fall on Tony Khan's shoulders. And when he said that he was going to be doing that, I'm like, don't wear all those hats. Don't be like Vince, delegate, have some people there that just fucking know, and make sure that you hire people in charge of that just say, look, just use your head, just use some common fucking sense. And if you're not sure, if you're unsure of something, talk to somebody, ask somebody, get a second opinion. What should be done? And that's all you can really do with it. So in my mind, it was a dumb thing that shouldn't have never made air. But again, I'm not going to spend 35 tweets on it, using this as my reason, as more ammunition to fuel my, my anti-AEW delusion in my head that I just insist on arguing with strangers online about, because that's stupid and a waste of time. But at the same time, AEW's got to be held accountable and say, yeah, it wasn't cool. Don't, you can't be saying that shit. What was the dude's name in WWE who made the Kobe joke? Abraham Washington, right? Primetime players. He was on the outside of the ring. They're like, Kobe in a hotel room, unstoppable. He got fired for that. So, and what happened back then when he got fired? I remember a lot of fans were pissed. A lot of fans thought it was unreasonable. A lot of fans thought it was unjust. A lot of fans thought that he should have received some sort of a punishment, a warning, a fine, a don't ever do this again or you will be fired. Something like that. Those same people that were against his firing are calling for Max Caster's firing, saying Tony Khan should shut down AEW. That's the tribalism world we're in right now, to where nobody can just think logically. and just being like, oh yeah, that was fucking stupid. Let's not do that again, please. And they turn that into, a 3-day long bender on just endlessly tweeting out nonsense into a void of 0 likes and engagement and responses about how bad they think it is because they can never shut the fuck up. So to me, not cool that they did that. Not a cool line to say in a rap. To joke about mental health and rape virtually in the same sentence is pretty fucked up. But you got to chalk it up as that. Max Caster doesn't need to be fired, but maybe he needs to run his shit by other management. We've heard that about AEW. They're less scripted. They're allowed a little bit more leeway, the talent is, in terms of what they can do. And maybe there's got to be some limitations there. Maybe you can't just let them do whatever they want. They have to get shit approved first. We're in WWE. I don't think you can take a shit without getting it approved. Bruce, is it okay if I go take a shit? Where in AEW, they kind of let you do a little bit more. So maybe there's got to be a balance there. Yes, let's not be WWE where we script people taking shits, but let's also not give them free reign to do whatever the fuck they want because they're kids. How old is this Max Caster kid? Early 20s? He's an idiot. I was an idiot when I was in my early 20s. I said dumb shit all the time that I'm glad I didn't have a YouTube camera running when I said. So, you can kind of just say, all right, that wasn't cool. Let it go. And I don't think it really deserved any more attention than that. They got called out for it. They said they're sorry. What else do you want? So anyway, a lot of people were asking me my opinions on that. And there you go. And we're going to keep with the AEW theme here and talk about Homecoming. However, I want to run over here and answer a couple of more super chats that were rolling in when I was flapping my gums. Do me a favor, smash the thumbs up button if you don't mind. If you're here watching right now and you're not subscribed, subscribe so you can leave a comment. And also subscribe so you can watch more of me. That would be cool too. Had a pretty good chunk of subscribers, over 100 come in on Tuesday from that live stream. So if you're here, please subscribe and please like the video. Likes really help, and sometimes my likes suck. Spaz, is that you? 2 $10 super drops coming in from Spaz Phoenix. Go check out his YouTube channel and subscribe to him. He has got some pretty good opinions and commentaries on stuff and does a lot of fine NXT work over there. So if you want to hear what Spaz has to say about that stuff, you can check him out. Thanks for your first $10 drop. If WWE ever joined the open door of wrestling, overlooking that'll never happen, do you think Impact, AEW, New Japan fans would accept WWE stars on their show as WWE guys? Cheers to you and you in the chat. Good question. That's kind of a question that's come up a lot of times, like throughout the years, if there ever was a working arrangement or a working agreement to spice things up. A lot of non-WWE promotions have very, kind of cult-like followings. A lot of these people follow these promotions primarily because they reject a lot of what WWE gives them. So if you start putting fucking Mordecai or somebody like that, some crazy-ass WWE character, Roman Reigns prior to the head of the table stuff, if he was Shield Roman Reigns showing up in Japan or in TNA or something, I think the fans might reject it a little bit. But it also would still, and I think it would automatically make WWE heels in that situation. And the promotion would be the babyface. So I think a lot of the fans might not accept the WWE stars. They would get booed, even if they're babyfaces, they would get booed endlessly, probably by that crowd. However, now it might be a little different since AEW has decided to work with everybody. They work with everybody. Everybody. I think the only company they haven't really done much with maybe is Ring of Honor. But everybody else they've got, they've even had a little deal with them before too. It's pretty Ring of Honor heavy, that first All In, wasn't it? So I think it would just be kind of in between now. I think if this was 5 years ago, the WWE stars would be firmly rejected. Now, I don't know. I think it might be a little bit more fun and some fans might be open to it. Yeah, 10 more right after that, 10 more bucks. I'm the NXT guy, but I hope they never have pre-taped sci-fi shows again. They weren't good. As the last 2 weeks have been toilet water. Didn't even post a review this week. Other fun stuff coming instead. Hashtag cheap plug. Yeah, gave you some props on your NXT stuff. Yeah, that's why I didn't talk much about it on Tuesday night. I came up after NXT, but I knew since both shows, I believe, were pre-taped, and we read the spoilers, we knew about the Dakota Kai turn and all of that the previous week. So it sucks when they have to be bumped. Back in the day, Raw used to have to get bumped for the dog show, for the U.S. Open, shit like that. At least with the Olympics, it's like every 4 years. And I think NXT is back to their normal time slot on Tuesday, which is good because they got to build that Cross and Samoa Joe match for TakeOver. Chris Miner's got $10 for me as well. Thank you very much, dude. Going to Raw here on Monday. I'm sorry, excuse me. My nose is itching. Are y'all talking about me? Going to Raw on Monday here in Orlando, and I'm excited to see live wrestling again. On a side note, people, please get vaccinated. Almost lost a cousin. We don't want to go back to the Thunderdome again. No, we don't. In the back of my mind, I feel like it's happening. I do. I feel like we have not seen the last of the Thunderdome this year. I just have no faith in the people in this country. It just blows my mind, and I'm not going to get on a vaccination rant, but I've said this point before, and I truly believe it. The one reason I know that we are doomed as a country, and we are so ridiculously, stupidly divided, is that the one thing, mass death, a pandemic, an outbreak of a nasty virus that is killing Americans by the second, if that can't bring us together to put aside our stupid political differences and all of that and try to survive as humanity, if that cannot bring us together, then I don't think anything can. We had our differences back on 9/11, coming up on the 20-year anniversary of that. When that plane hit, I did not like George Bush. I thought he was a fucking moron. I knew that in the debates. I'm like, how the hell did this guy beat Al Gore? He's an idiot. But after 9/11, he was my president, and I had his back, at least for a little bit there, until the war in Iraq and all that shit. But when he's, I didn't agree with him sitting there in the classroom for 7 minutes or any of that shit that he did. But at the same time, he's the one that you turn to, and he was promoting that message of unity a lot, and regardless of what your political affiliation was, we all stood for the anthem, and we all, were very proud and not going to be deterred, and we would rise again, and we would rebuild, and we would live on, and you had a lot of that there. To have this now to where we got these fucking morons, these gravy drinking, Mountain Dew sweating, cousin fucking hillbilly shit humans that absolutely refuse, to do anything for the good of the country, to do anything beyond their own selfish wants and needs and stupid delusions in their head, for them to reject this and resist this and purposely not go out and get vaccinated just because you're an American and you voted for Trump, these MAGA fucks. This is what sucks about this country, and this is what it's a shame. What's such a shame about it is because if we can't come together here, how can we ever come together? So Chris is right. Go get vaccinated. Don't be a fucking idiot, and just do it, because if you don't, we're going to be back to lockdowns, to Thunderdomes, to not being able to go to movies, concerts, traveling, go to the grocery store, and there's going to be no fucking toilet paper again. We don't want that. It was hell last time. It sucked. Let's get your act together. Stop being stupid. Dumbasses. Anyway. It's my COVID rant of the day. Who's next? Victor, thanks for the $2. I'm listening to you at work. Pushing carts. Nice. Push the shit out of them carts, man. Oh, 2 more from you. Thanks again, Victor, for 2 more bucks. I almost got hit by a car pushing carts. Slamming into them. Messed their paint job up. Something good. Man, good luck at work. I'm glad you're here. I guess you got your earbuds in then if you're walking around the grocery store parking lot. Good luck to you, man. Glad you're here. Let's get into Dynamite from last night, AEW Homecoming. First thing I want to mention about Dynamite is they pulled in a rating of 1.1 million, which I believe matched what they got last week. And I think it was slightly down by a hair, but not much. They maintained that million plus viewership with a pretty solid main event. And like I said, these are all like super promising numbers because Dynamites are fun. They're fun atmospheres. Even last night when we had a show that wasn't perfect, it was still overall a lot of fun. Fans are into it, and the ratings are reflecting that. And because every week you're having a pretty decent show, that was pretty good. I'll tune in next week now. What is going to happen when you get CM Punk on that TV show? What's going to happen when you get Daniel Bryan there, or Bray Wyatt there, or Flair there, or Adam Cole, or any of these people that are probably going to be slowly infiltrating that company in the next few weeks and months? I think things are only going to get better and interest is only going to rise. Now, my only concern is that, AEW is still a very, very young company. They're doing a lot of things right, but they're not doing everything right. And I worry that they're going to get too big too quick, because when Tony Khan said that he's going to personally handle the editing of AEW Dark and shit, I'm like, I hope you mean when you're going to personally handle it, you mean you're going to personally hire somebody to handle it, is what he's saying. He's not personally going to do this job himself. Otherwise, I think he's going to be spread too thin. Then he's going to be pulled in a lot of different directions. They got to make sure that they've got some sort of organization and leadership back there, and Tony has people under him that also have authority and are smart enough to make the proper decisions and not be influenced by EVPs or talent or whatever. That's my only concern, is that back in WCW's days, they were bringing in all this talent, all of these egos, and there was no way to manage all of this. And behind the scenes was just a complete clusterfuck. It was just a hodgepodge and mesh and mashup of just bad attitudes and bad egos and selfishness and laziness, and nobody was in charge, and nobody had really the reins other than Bischoff. And could pretty much get away with whatever you wanted to do. And the television product reflected that, because there was no follow through and continuity and stories, and a lot of things were just all over the place and being rewritten and stuff like that. I don't want to see them get to that point. Right now, they are doing long-term storytelling. They're booking matches correctly. They're utilizing people to their proper potential for the most part, not in every case. But that could deteriorate the bigger they get and the less, what's it called? the less, I guess, authority that they have to deal with in terms of, management, people who to go to. Or the authority presence, I should say, backstage. So we'll see. But they're doing well. They're pulling in good numbers. Last night was a pretty fun show back in Daly's Place after just a couple of weeks off. I mean, they called it homecoming, but they were just there. So provided, like I said, COVID doesn't put us back there, they're not scheduled to go back to Daly's Place until the end of the year, which might be kind of like an annual thing for them as well. So they opened up with the third labor of Jericho. This, of course, was announced the previous week. Chris Jericho taking on Juventud Guerrera in 2021. I thought that was a fascinating match to book. Now, I said on Tuesday that I think they did it fucked up. I think Juvi and Jericho should have been last week. And then when Jericho wins that, MJF should have said, now you have to fight Nick Gage. Because when you go to a hardcore pizza cutting match to like a cruiserweight type of affair, even though neither one of those guys are, especially Jericho is a cruiserweight at this point, it was almost like you did that backwards. They should have done this match first. And the match itself was not very good. As a matter of fact, it was a little cringy at first. It took them a while to kind of find their groove, so to speak. They did not look like they were on the same page. It didn't even look like they were reading the same book for a couple of minutes there. And Jericho ain't 1996 Lionheart Jericho anymore. And they both kind of struggled. Now, Juvi, for a 46-year-old or whatever he is, he still looked very good. I think he looked better than Jericho in this match, to be honest. And, it was a little tough to watch there for a bit, but they recovered. They recovered it decently enough for me anyway. And luckily they closed with an amazing move. Jericho winning with a top rope Judas effect. Now, what was funny about this is that I completely misunderstood the stipulation in the match, even, when it was made the previous week, probably because I wasn't home. I was on vacation. I was watching Dynamite on my phone, and I would have sworn I heard MJF say that the only way to win this match is by executing a top rope move. And I was like, that's it? That's all Jericho has to do is just suplex him off the top rope and he wins? What he meant was you have to win with that move, not just execute the move. So I kind of misunderstood that. I'm like, oh, I guess that makes a bit more sense. So Jericho climbing up to the top and hitting a top rope Judas effect saved this match. That's not something I expected to see. That's awesome. So cool. Pins Juvi, gets the win. Of course, this pisses off MJF, who's on commentary, and he gets on the mic to announce to everyone what the fourth labor of Jericho is. And to be honest with you, it's a little bit of a letdown. I was hoping for something a lot better because it looked like it looked like they might be doing a deal where they're going to go through different phases of Jericho's career, because he was Painmaker, and then he was like Lionheart era, and it would have been awesome if they brought in Kurt Angle or somebody that he might have worked with in the WWE Attitude Era years around that time who might be available to come in and just work a match for nostalgia. That would be the next labor, but it sounds like they're going to cut this short. I can't remember, did MJF announce how many labors there was going to be? Did he mention a specific amount of labors? because it feels like this might be the last one before actually getting to the MJF match, which is probably going to take place at All Out. So MJF announces that next week, the fourth labor of Jericho will be Jericho versus Wardlow. Jericho's attacked by Wardlow after the match, kicks his ass, does all his fucking poses and stuff like that. And MJF says that it'll be Jericho and Wardlow, and MJF is going to be at ringside because somebody should be there to call the match down the middle. So this confused people a little bit too, because Jim Ross mentioned like 3 or 4 times that, MJF's going to be the special referee, but MJF said he was going to be at ringside. So I think he might be there in an enforcer role is what I think it is. So he'll be on the outside of the ring next week causing all sorts of problems. I don't know how Jericho is going to get out of this one, because you would think that if he's got to face Wardlow, who's a badass, with MJF stacking the deck against him, being on the outside of the ring in a referee's capacity or an enforcer capacity, how the fuck is Jericho going to get this win here without any help? So who's Wardlow? So I think one of 2 things happen. Jericho either gets some help. There's probably a stipulation where Inner Circle guys can't help him or something like that, but something happens. He gets some help. Or, maybe there is a miscommunication between MJF and Wardlow. Maybe there's a turn or something like that, or something that teases it, or MJF fucks up or Wardlow fucks up and Jericho beats him. This incites MJF. He gets pissed at Wardlow because he's kind of talked down to him a couple times before. They were teasing this weeks and a couple of months back, that maybe Wardlow might eventually go full Alex Riley on MJF and just beat the holy hell out of him. So that could happen next week. And we could have at least maybe not a full-blown turn or a split between Wardlow and MJF, but the beginning of that or the continuation of that. One way or the other, you got to think that Jericho's got to get the victory here, because we know the payoff is going to be MJF and Jericho probably at All Out. So we'll see what happens next week. It feels like that's going to be the last labor unless they do one more. That should pretty much be it for the 2 of them. Andrade stuff was funny, continuing to court the Lucha Brothers. They gave Pac some traveling problems, so he wasn't there to be with his Death Triangle members. And Andrade and Chavo later on have got this, I forgot the wrestler's name. They want him to shine Andrade's shoes. And they still are convinced that those guys, that Penta and Phoenix, are working for Pac, which is just kind of a funny misunderstanding. Is, you should come work for me. And they try to tell him over and over that they're not working for anybody. Like, what the fuck? They're just bros. They're just homies. They just hang out. I don't think Andrade knows what it means. So that stuff was a little bit funny. Hangman Page broke up with the Dark Order. He was down on himself, blaming himself for what happened last week in that 10-man elimination, and says that, he's kind of brought his problems into Dark Order's world, and that's not fair, and he feels like a piece of shit for it. So he's just decided that he's going to go alone, which sucks, because right after they had that great entrance the week before, he feels bad. He appreciates their help. A lot of those guys like John Silver and stuff, they don't want to leave. They don't want him to leave. They want him to stick around. We got your back, man. We got you. But he insists that he kind of needs to go it alone. And Evil Uno, I think, is the one that kind of agrees to that and makes sure that that actually happens. So they're keeping that storyline going a little bit. We'll see, when and if these guys all come back together. Probably one of my favorite matches of the night last night was the 6-man between Eddie Kingston, Jon Moxley, and Darby Allin taking on Daniel Garcia and 2.0. Who is 2.0, you ask? 2.0 is the team who on Tuesday, as I'm just ranting on that dumb as fuck argument that AEW is nothing but WWE castoffs, I say on the stream on Tuesday, I'm like, dudes, it's not like they're out there signing Everrise. Not 2 seconds later, somebody in the chat says, dude, they actually are signed and they're going to be on Dynamite this week. I thought that was so funny. My argument is still right. They're not just WWE cast off, and I was using them as an excuse or a reason, and they actually have signed, which is funny. But honestly, it's great. They shouldn't have been let go to begin with. They are supremely entertaining. Apparently just signed new contracts with WWE prior to the release. So bringing them in is fine, but they are talents that I wouldn't immediately think is somebody, AEW's got to sign them right away. You know what I mean? But they are very entertaining. And my favorite part about this match is the fact that Sting, of course, was out there backing up Darby Allin. So I think it's Matt Lee of 2.0. He gets tossed outside of the ring right next to Sting. And he gets up and he sees Sting, and he just basically just starts marking out like I would. Holy shit, you're Sting. You're the real Sting. It's really you. And Sting's like, yeah, it's me. And he's just so busy gushing and marking out over Sting that he just completely gets annihilated by Darby Allin, who comes flying in through the ropes and takes him out with a suicide dive, hitting the barricade. It was vicious, and it was awesome. Probably the funniest moment of the entire show for me came right there with Matt Lee and Sting. Love that stuff. In the end, Jon Moxley hit a paradigm shift to Danny Garcia, followed by a coffin drop from Darby Allin for the win. No big surprise there. Take you 2 seconds to figure out who's going to win that match. And the babyfaces won there. But 2.0 is now in AEW. They should be very entertaining there, and they should be given even more of a stage to kind of show their charisma in AEW, even more so maybe than in NXT, because they got Elevation, they got Dark, they got other shows that they can probably be featured on a lot. And those guys are great, man. They're entertaining. I'm glad AEW picked them up. 2.0, I like the name, and looking forward to more great shit from those dudes. Pretty funny stuff. Love the backstage promo with the Elite. All standing there, playing basketball. You got Gallows and Anderson. You got the Bucks. You got Kenny. You got Brandon Cutler. Nakazawa's there. I don't recall seeing Callis, actually. Luke Gallows, or Doc Gallows, is actually wearing a Ric Flair robe. Carl Anderson, for some reason, I didn't know that his shirt was a Bollywood Boys shirt, but I saw that online. I'm like, oh, shit. It said, like, chicken and cornbread or something. I don't know what it said. I didn't even know that was a Bollywood Boys shirt. And the funniest one was Kenny Omega's shirt, who was wearing a Cookie Monster shirt. So there's like Easter eggs out the ass here, because it was pointed out on social media. A lot of people were talking about it last night, that there was an interview years ago that CM Punk did before anybody knew what CM stood for in CM Punk. And somebody asked him, and he said, Cookie Monster. So the fact that that's pretty cool, that Kenny Omega wore the Cookie Monster shirt. We got Gallows in the Flair robe. I don't know if the Bollywood Boys are coming in. I guess they must be, or the Singh brothers. I mean, they brought in Everrise. They're going to bring in the Singh brothers. So that was kind of funny. And I was waiting for them to make some sort of an Adam Cole reference or something like that. They didn't do that. Just a lot of fun stuff there, just talking about shit and the title belts. You got 2 sets of tag team champions there. And the Dark Order is actually going to get a shot at the Impact tag team titles next week on Dynamite. So Anderson and Gallows will be defending against, I think, Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. That's kind of cool. Kenny talked about Hangman's opportunity last week, but he blew it. Had the big shot, threw up a brick, and now no title shot for you. They were yelling at Brandon Cutler a couple times to shut up, which I thought was funny. Gallows, who was it that spins the ball real good? Is it Gallows or Anderson? One of them can do it really well. And then they instruct Cutler to get up there and cut down the nets because it's over. The Bucks are going to be buried in their tag team titles, out there wearing their rompers or whatever they were wearing. They looked ridiculous. It was a pretty entertaining promo all in all from the Elite backstage, and that would not be the last we would see of them. They'd be out later messing around with Hangman. After that, we got Christian Cage versus The Blade. Not much to say about that match. Decent match. Christian hits a spear for the win. Layla Hirsch ran out there, I think, to help out and try to kind of neutralize the bunny at one point. And after Christian wins, later on in the show, he's interviewed backstage by Tony Schiavone, who announces that he is the new #1 contender to Kenny Omega's title. So Christian is officially the #1 contender. He's got a title shot coming up. And like we talked about earlier on, it could be a situation where they want to hold off Hangman and Kenny until after All Out to let CM Punk's return to the ring kind of be the focal point there and not to take away from that big moment. So they might be looking to bump the title down to the undercard and give Kenny a good quality opponent to work with. Christian would be the perfect guy. And it kind of feels like they might be doing that. I'm not sure. Christian went on to, Tony asked him about Layla Hirsch. He says, hey, she's got a match later on. Are you going to go out there and help her? And he starts singing the Golden Girls theme song, which was weird. And he says that Layla, even though he's her friend, that she already has friends. As a matter of fact, she has best friends. And I think they would be out there with her later on. Britt Baker promo, wasn't much to say there. She was interrupted by Red Velvet. Britt makes fun of her for beating her in like 3 minutes. And she goes, yeah, but that was when I was an enhancement talent. I'm better now. I've won like 7 matches in a row, and I didn't have to cheat to do it or whatever. So we might get a little match between those two. I'm still hoping that Baker and Rosa work all out, and it ain't Baker and Red Velvet. We'll see, but that match might come quicker than that. I'm not sure. Then we get the Hangman Adam Page promo. He's interrupted by the Elite, all of them, and of course he has no backup now because he broke up with the Dark Order, so he's kind of outnumbered there. And Kenny is getting in Hangman's face, talking so much shit to him until Adam snaps and slaps the shit out of Kenny Omega, but then he's immediately attacked by the Elite. He's worked over hard. He gets just pelted with BTE triggers from the Bucks, with Kenny going, hit him again, then just torturing the guy. And then in the end, they lift him up. I think the Dark Order even comes out there to try to help. They want so badly to help, but Evil Uno is the one that says, nah, guys, he says he wants to do this. Respect his wishes and let him get murdered in there. And then in the end, Kenny says, I'm going to give you one last look at what you will never have, and smashes him right in the face with the title belt. So there's no way that storyline is over. Hangman's taken that fucking title from Kenny. I'm telling you right now. It just doesn't look like it's going to be at all out. That dickhead Dan Lambert is back playing the role of Jim Cornette, running down AEW and stuff. And last week, or when he was on TV last time, got his ass kicked by Lance Archer, and says that next week he's going to be in Pittsburgh on Dynamite, and he's going to have backup with him. Who is his backup? Give me ideas. For whoever Dan Lambert is going to bring with him next week. Oh, I love the TNT title match between Miro and Lee Johnson. Great stuff there. Miro is just such a fantastic, interesting champion, one of my favorite guys in AEW. So good that he has changed my opinion of white straps on title belts. I'm the only one who feels this way. All of you guys, modern fans, love white straps on title belts. Old school fans like me hate them. hate them. Hated it on the Intercontinental title. It just got to be black. It's always got to be black because I am just a traditionalist and I fucking hate white straps. But Miro is changing my mind. That belt looks so good on him. He loves God and he loves his double-jointed wife. He's God's favorite champion. He's phenomenal. I thought this match would be a little bit more of a squash than it was. He gave Lee Johnson a lot of offense here. In the end, finally beat him with the game over, formerly the Accolade. And if you noticed at the end of the match, too, after he won, he almost kind of gives Lee Johnson some cuddles. He just kind of snuggles up to him and forgives him. Is there a better character right now in AEW than this guy? He's fucking fantastic, man. Love Miro. After that, we got Layla Hirsch taking on the Bunny. And she tapped out the Bunny with an armbar. Now, after the match, Camille, who was at ringside for this, comes into the ring, and Layla Hirsch has now earned herself a shot at the NWA title, which I think is going to happen on an NWA show, the NWA women's title, I should say. And Camille gets up and gets in the ring and has that epic stare down with little Layla Hirsch, who I think realistically is like 4'10" or something like that, and Camille's 6'+", and it was Layla's face came up to about, I don't know, man, here, right up to the the top half of Camille, and it was just such a funny look. And Camille being in AEW a little bit more in the future, I'm very, very much interested in, especially if you can somehow slowly build in the next year to have a collision course between her and Jade Cargill. I think Jade has got still has to get a lot better. As a matter of fact, Jade Cargill did another one of her promos with Mark Sterling, how they're just not shutting the fuck up about building their brand and their business and their company, and it's all about money and branding and all this stuff. And I'm assuming that she's probably working behind the scenes to get better in the ring while all this nonsense is going on. She does have a match booked, I think, soon on Elevation or Dark, so we will see a little bit more of her. But clearly she's got some more work to do in the ring. But from a physical perspective, she looks like $1 million, and her and Camille coming face-to-face one day in the future should be a lot of fun. And that leaves us with our amazing main event. Cody Rhodes taking on Malakai Black. We thought this match might be it all out. They did it on Dynamite last night. How cool was Black's entrance? Wasn't as elaborate as WWE, where he came up from the thing and there's the candles and all that shit. He had this really crazy like cloak and hood and mask with horns sticking out of it and all this shit. It looked awesome. And he is just a badass. And they didn't even do it's not brain surgery. This match was executed to perfection, and it was also executed in the most simplest way possible. And props to Cody. You know, Cody kind of did here for Black what he did to Brody Lee, or what he did for Brody Lee last year when Brody Lee just destroyed him for the TNT title. Now, the flip side of that coin is whenever that happens, Cody comes back and gets his win back. So let's hope that doesn't happen. But this was a dominant performance by Malakai Black. Good to see him in the ring wearing a little bit different gear. He doesn't have the short trunks on anymore. He's got something that resembles a little bit more like a Karrion Kross or Samoa Joe gear, a little bit longer in the bottom half there. And he looked to be in great shape. And he was pretty dominant here on Cody. Cody had a little bit of offense early. Black was really kind of working over the lead with the knee a little bit and the leg. And eventually, just a few minutes in, they get to a spot where Cody is really like almost in desperation mode within the first 3 or 4 minutes of the match, kind of realizing like, oh shit, this guy's no joke. And he seems to be really desperate to hit a big move. So he finds himself climbing up on the top rope. Black gets up there and pushes him off. And that's probably the only bad part of this match, is that Cody really launched himself over the top post, the top rope post, and onto the announce table that was on the outside of the ring. It should have looked a little bit more fluid or fluent than it was, because I think Black struck Cody, there was a pause, and then he flew, you know, instead of kind of getting kicked into stuff. But you have to make sure you land right on that and everything. And it was a hellacious bump by Cody. I just think it could have looked a little bit better. Cody, of course, crawls and fights his way out of the wreckage, dragging himself, pulling himself into the ring, rolling into the ring, struggling to get to his feet. Black the whole time is just waiting for him to get up, watching Cody struggle. As soon as Cody makes it to his feet, bam, Black Mass right to his face. I don't know what they're going to call, if it's Black Mass or not. In AEW, he's going to have a different name for it probably. Nails Cody right in the face with that, and then walks over and just puts a boot on his chest. And what was interesting about this is one of my favorite Jim Ross calls in all of AEW. I don't think JR was clued into this finish, because he was legitimately surprised. Because even when Black hit Cody, JR must not have known that was his finish. When he went over and put a boot on him, JR is kind of mumbling, well, that's not going to get it done. And the referee just goes, 1, 2, 3. And JR goes, my God. Oh, my God. What the hell did we just see? I'm like, well, what'd you expect, Jim Ross? Cody took a crazy bump, a top rope bump onto a table, crawled in the ring, got his head kicked off. It's not that crazy that he can be pinned. I think it was the boot to the chest that caught Jim Ross off guard, and I truly don't think, based on Jim's reaction, that he knew what the finish was going to be. So it was a great call by JR. He was legitimately shocked at that. And I thought it was a statement win. It was so awesome, and it put over Black as somebody that is a big deal. And it was done simply. See how easy that was? Do you see how easy that was, WWE? Took virtually negative effort to put that match together, and they did it flawlessly. You idiots overthink every goddamn thing, you know, and never even gave this guy a chance to start. He was undefeated for a year, and you didn't even realize it, because you don't know what the fuck you're doing, ever. So this was so much more meaningful, and he accomplished more in one victory over Cody Rhodes than he did in that year-long undefeated streak he had in WWE. Honestly, he did. And that, to me, is very telling. Now, after this statement win, Cody has still got to be Cody, and he's still got to make it about himself. So he gets knocked out. Black leaves. Tony Schiavone, and I saw it too. I knew something was going to happen because the match ended with 5 minutes left in the show. So Schiavone comes in the ring, and he's going to interview Cody, who's waking up. Cody's got a cut on his nose. You know what fucking day it is. He thinks it's Christmas. And he's kind of coming to a little bit, and here we go. Don't ever invite Cody to give a toast at your wedding, because you might be there all fucking night. You ain't consummating that, because it's going to be breakfast the next day, and this guy's still going to be talking. So next thing you know, Cody's like, oh, when I started AEW, he's so dramatic. I'm sorry. I preface this every time I criticize Cody. I love Cody. We love Cody on this channel. I've met Cody. Great guy. His dad's one of my favorite wrestlers of all time. So there's always going to be things that Cody is going to get a pass with me on. But I cannot ignore that this guy is so self-indulgent that I don't know if in his head, if he really thinks we care as much as he does or whatever. And he acted like it was Ric Flair. He was Ric Flair in the WrestleMania 28 match with Shawn, or 24 match with Shawn, when he retired, just crying and tearful, and went on to talk about a lot of things, about leaving WWE, talked about even the rumors of butting heads with the other EVPs, and starting AEW and the career he's on, and his wife and his dad and all this shit, and he's crying. And then he starts to slowly take off his boots, or unlace his boots. I think he gets one boot off, and even Jim Ross is like, well, we've seen that usually when people retire, this is what they do. And he's basically teasing a retirement. And I guess I'm just going to have to retire. He didn't say retire. He's kind of just, trailing off. And he gets one shoe off. Finally, luckily for all of us, Malakai Black shows back up and had enough of that, and he just shuts him the fuck up with that crutch. There was a crutch in the ring, too, that I guess they'd given Cody to hobble around like Tiny Tim. And Malakai picks it up and just whacks him in the back, knocks Cody clean on his face, and the show goes off the air. So it looked like Cody was about to retire or do a retirement angle. I think what this is that, he's going to have a new baby at home, and I know he's got that TV show to film, so it might be a little bit of a small hiatus before he comes back, and now he gets to look like the hero. He gets to come out of retirement and still have something to do at the end. It's all him taking care of himself, which is fine, but Cody, you got to give him credit for at least putting Malakai Black over, but it does remind me a lot of the Brody Lee loss. Because when he lost to Brody Lee, he ended up coming back and beating him and getting his win back and getting the TNT title back. He also put over Darby Allin, don't forget, as well. But he also owns victories over Darby Allin as well. So I do worry that Cody's going to come back and beat Malakai Black, which I don't want to see. I would like to see, unless you do it way down the road. I do not want to see Cody come back and work Malakai Black at All Out and beat him. That would piss me off. If you're going to have this match again, do it after Malakai is there for a while. Do it after he's kind of already been established there. We're used to seeing him where he's not brand new, and then the next homecoming in December back at Daly's Place, do the rematch and let Cody get his fucking win back. But do not do it in 2 weeks, or don't do it in a month, 1 month from today, as a matter of fact, at All Out. Do it down the road. But is Cody really not going to have a presence at All Out? I don't know. I don't know if he's going to go do that TNT show that he already did last year, do another stint there, maybe take time off with Brandy. I don't know. But it seemed like this is a way to kind of temporarily write him off of TV until he comes back. So he'll be back, and he'll cut another tearful promo, how he was inches away from retirement, but you people brought me back. Just don't beat Black right away when you do that, Cody. That's all I ask. Otherwise, you get a pass from me. I love you. But I don't think the fans care as much about your life as you think they do. Ugh. Can I say that without sounding like a dick? But yeah, it was a little bit ridiculous. But in the end, big statement win for Black. Wish they hadn't made it about Cody at the end. Wish it was just about Black beating the shit out of him. Where he picked him up after pinning him and just beat him up some more. Why couldn't you write him off TV that way? Cody's always got to cut that promo. He's always got to cut that teary-eyed promo every time. Never fails. Anyway, next week's looking pretty good. We got Chris Jericho versus Wardlow, fourth labor of Jericho. Nyla Rose taking on Chris Statlander, and the Good Brothers, Gallows and Anderson defending the Impact Tag Team titles against the Dark Order. That should be good. Did you guys catch the PBR ad that filled in for the Domino's ad, I guess, in that whole debacle last night? Matt Cardona, Chelsea Green, Brian Myers, Hornswoggle, all in that ad. Very cool. And right now, All Out's looking like probably Christian Omega, Punk Darby, Britt Thunder Rosa, maybe Mox Tanahashi. Looking pretty good. Bucks are going to defend the titles. Probably some other great shit going on there as well. All Out's looking pretty good. At least right now. It's a month out, but it'll be coming together more and more as we get closer. So anywho, I had a bottom of the hour curfew because I got to go to work. So unfortunately I can't hang out for too much longer, but let me just go over here and knock out the super chats that I missed. And then I have to immediately go. I apologize for that. It's good to see you, Nathan Hansen. Welcome back, dude. Appreciate the $3 from you. Rampage. Oh, that's right. Rampage. It might not be All Out. It might be Rampage. Rampage. Kenny beats Christian. Punk comes out. Are they gonna really have Punk leapfrog Adam Page, though? I don't think so. I think Punk's working with Darby Allin. I think you start Punk slow. I don't want to see him come in and get a title shot the first day. Let Hangman and Kenny pay off this shit. Let Punk come in, work a great match with Darby, get back in the ring, shake off the rust, be there for a while. He's a guy that's going to have so much buzz around him at first that his promos and matches are going to be enough. You can add the title later. That's not something you need to throw on him right away. You'll do that later. There will be time when Punk's going to be challenging for the title and all that stuff, but I'm not doing that at all out. I really like the idea of Punk and Darby. That's going to be a fantastic match. Zane G, welcome back, dude. Good to see you, man, and thanks for 5 more from you. You were very generous on Tuesday. What's up, Mike? I'm late to the chat. Are you worried about the possibility of a Thunderdome comeback and a possible SummerSlam cancellation? Not worried about a SummerSlam cancellation. I think that will be fine, but there might be some problems immediately after that. I think we are supposed to wear masks at SummerSlam, which I did see. But based on this country and my little rant I gave you guys earlier on, we're going to see the Thunderdome again. We're too stupid. We're just too dumb of a country. So it will be back in the Thunderdome, and it will be because of our stupidity, unfortunately. But I think we're going to see it. And that makes me mad. Divine Ricks, thanks for $5 from you, dude. Hey, Greg, I always wanted to ask you, what's your favorite SummerSlam pay-per-view of all time? Yours is SummerSlam 2002. Mine is 1990. Not everyone's, but I remember it fondly. I watched it on the night before school started. Back in 1990, I was going into the 9th grade or whatever the fuck it was. And it was an awesome show. Hearts won the tag titles and my favorite tag team match in WWE of all time against Demolition. Kerry Von Erich upset Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, in a crazy match early on in the card. There was an atmosphere in the Spectrum that night, an electricity to it, a vibe that I cannot describe. Even the Ultimate Warrior had a rare good match against Ravishing Rick Rude in the cage. Hulk Hogan worked with Earthquake. Loved that show. Just for personal memories, the card doesn't maybe match up to every great SummerSlam. There's probably been a lot of better ones, like the one you said in 2002. But for some reason, and I was at 2000. I've been at one of two. How many SummerSlams have I been to? I guess just one. There's been some great pay-per-views, but there's something about that 1990 show that I've just always loved. And that might be what we watch on Sunday. It's probably going to be that or 1992. I'll give it some thought. But anywho, I appreciate you guys being here today. By the way, Ben Espinoza, happy birthday to you, my friend. I know you sent me that on Twitter today, and I tried to wish you happy birthday, and I just saw that you were in here now. So happy birthday to you. I hope you have a great one, but I have got to go to work. So you guys take care and join me on Sunday. We're going to be up here at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. I'll have a link up in the next day or so, and we're going to do a watch-along of a classic SummerSlam as soon as I decide what that SummerSlam is. You guys take care. Thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you on Sunday.